This is the Triangle's Morning News with Scott Brigham.
8:13 on this Thursday. We welcome in Attorney General Josh Stein. Josh, how you holding up?
Scott, I'm doing perfectly well. Really blessed and very stressful time for everybody, but it's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And first I wanted to get your take on the NC Reopen protest that we saw unfold the other day.
Well, I certainly understand people's frustration, but you got to direct your frustration at the real culprit, which is this virus that's invisible to us all. And if we do not succeed in sufficiently tamping this thing down and then figuring out, well, what do we do to keep people healthy when we start going back to work, then 2 months from now we're going to be in exactly the same situation we were in March, and that's just not an acceptable outcome. So we can all do our part to get restarted if we stay at home today. That's the single most best thing we can possibly do to get everyone back to work is to stay home right now.
And you guys are also doing your part in so many ways other than keeping folks aware of scammers and fraudsters. You're also suspending debt collection, protecting children, and something a little bit later I'll talk about. But talk about the efforts to debt collection suspension. Sure.
Yeah. There's not only people feeling health, people feeling stress, but people are feeling real economic pain. There's so many hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians who've lost their jobs. And so anyone who has the ability to make those folks' lives a little bit better, a little less economically stressful should do it. And one thing I do as Attorney General is I collect all the debts for the state of North Carolina, which is, as you can imagine, it's the biggest corporate entity in the whole state. And so we're not collecting debts while the state of emergency is underway because people need that extra cash in order to keep the lights on or buy food, put food on the table. So we've done that. I've urged all manner of other companies to do that too. Banks should be working with their homeowners and other borrowers. Landlords should be working with their renters, not evicting them. Telephone companies shouldn't disconnect people for non-payment because phone and internet service provider, internet service is such a critical infrastructural need in this time. And, of course, the utilities should not, in fact, the governor did an executive order directing that they cannot cut off people's water or power because it's critical that people not be made homeless or that they not lose access to water. Otherwise, they can't clean themselves and their hands and keep this virus away from other people.
You know, a lot of services that have been put in place across the state to help protect our children, not only in school, but just as social services just aren't accessible right now.
Yeah, it's rough. Almost all crime is down because of this. You know, everyone's staying home. But one crime is up, sadly, and that's domestic violence. And so I was pleased to join with Chief Justice Beasley of the North Carolina Supreme Court to urge all communities that have technology in the courts, and frankly, we don't have enough of that here in North Carolina, but to conduct remote hearings for anybody who is in need of a protective order if they're in a moment of danger at their home. And we also want kids to be safe online. So many children are spending more time than ever online. They're separated from their friends, so they want to stay connected. They use social media. They're doing distance learning to the extent they can. So we want kids to be safe when they're online, and we put some tips on our website for parents to help them make sure that their children don't encounter the real risks that exist. And Scott, there's a ton of stuff at ncdoj.gov/COVID-19, ncdoj.gov/COVID-19.
Well, there's always also something very interesting, and I imagine when you first thought of running for Attorney General, you never thought there might be a time when you're sitting at your office desk or at home reading a book on Facebook or Instagram for Story Time with Stein.
No, that was not part of the job description I thought. I have some little nieces, and I know that their parents, fortunately, my youngest is a high school sophomore, and college boys home, and so my kids are a little bit older, a lot more self-sufficient, but I remember what it was like to have young kids and to have them under your under your wing the whole day would be very exhausting. So we did story time with Stein. And in fact, if you go to that same website, fcdoj.gov/COVID-19, you'll see a few stories. If you want to read your kids some stories, I chose some. And for the high schoolers and middle schoolers, I did civics with Stein, talking about things like federalism and separation of powers, judicial review.
Did we lose him?
I'm right here.
Oh, okay. All right, well, that'd be great. I mean, and maybe next time you come on, you could have a little something for Krista, myself, and our listeners.
I'll put you all to sleep.
Maybe something between a Horton Hears a Who and, business law. I don't know. All right, well, Josh Stein, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Again, that website, ncdoj.gov. And, Josh, stay safe, stay healthy, and we look forward to talking with you again. Thanks for your help.
Scott, thanks for all you're doing.
I appreciate it. Coming up in just a